We begin today the Gemara on Daf Yud Beis Amud Beis, 3 lines up from the bottom of the Amud. The Gemara here is continuing the discussion regarding being Ma'aberes Hashana, when Bezdin establishes an Ibiyar to add an extra month to the year. When do they do this? Based on what do they do this? We had a lot of details before already. The Gemara continues. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Rav Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel the following Machlokes Tanoim regarding this subject. Ein Ma'aberes Hashana, Bezdin will not establish an Ibiyar unless the tkufa of Tammuz, which is the summer tkufa, is still missing most of a month, and therefore it's going to carry into the month of Tishrei most of the month. Then, in order that Tishrei or Sukkot should be in the tkufa of Tishrei, so you have to make an ibiyar. Before we continue here in the Gemara, let me just explain a few simple points here. There are the tkufas of the year, the 4 tkufas of the year, and each tkufa is 91 days. Actually, to be precise, it's 91 days and 7.5 hours. That's how long every tkufa is. So the tkufa of Tishrei is the time when Sukkot is supposed to be, because it says in the pasuk, "V'chag hasukos," or Chag ha'asif rather. The Gemara is soon going to bring here Chag ha'asif tkufas hashana, which means that it's the tkufa of asif, of fall, when they gather in the produce from the field. That's after the tkufa of Tammuz. Tammuz is the time when the harvest season, or then afterwards when things are left in the field, the dry and so on, and then gather there in the field or left in the field. So that's the tkufa of 91 days and 7.5 hours that lasts through Tammuz of Elul. And then sometimes, because the lunar calendar is different than the solar calendar, so therefore it could end up going into Tishrei as well. So what this Tana here, which is Rabbi Yehuda, is saying is, if Tammuz carries into Chodesh Tishrei and it goes into most of the month of Tishrei, which would be 16 days, then it's a problem, and you're going to have to be Ma'aber the year in order to delay the Yom Tiv to the next month. As Bryce here says, now, Kama Rube Shel Chodesh, what is the majority of the month, and then you have to make a Ibiyar? Shisha Sayayim. If Kufas Tammuz is going into 16 days of Chodesh Tishrei, which means that the Tkufa of Tishrei is only starting on Yud Zayin Tishrei, the 17th of the month, then you have to make a Ibiyar. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, this is Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Rabbi Yosi says, Echad ve'esrim yoim. If what's missing from Tkufas Tammuz, from before Tishrei, is 21 days, meaning that the Tkufa of Tammuz carries into the month of Tishrei all the way till Chav Aleph Tishrei, and the Tkufa of Tishrei is not beginning until Chav Beis Tishrei, which Chav Beis is already Shmini Atzeres. Chav Aleph is the last day of Sukkot, Hoshana Rabbah, so then it's a problem. Then you're going to have to be Ma'aber the year. But if the Tkufa of Tishrei ends on Chav, a day before, then it's not going to be a problem. Says the Gemara, what's the basis of these two opinions? They both are basing their opinion on the same pasuk, because the pasuk says Chag ha'asif tkufas hashana, the Yom Tiv of Sukkot, which is called Chag ha'asif, the time when you can gather from the produce in the field. So this is the new season of Tishrei. So that's the time when the Yom Tiv is. Now, as Rashi explains, Chag ha'asif, according to these two Tanoim, refers to Chol HaMoed, because it's only on Chol HaMoed where you're actually allowed, if it's a Davara Ovid, if it's a situation where there could be a loss, if you're not going to do this, that you're allowed to go in the field and do this work to gather the produce of the field. So when it says Chag ha'asif Tkufas Hashana, it's referring to Chol HaMoed, saying that the Tkufa of Tishrei has to be in Chol HaMoed, not the Tkufa of Tammuz. So now Mar Sovar Kulei Chag Be'inon. Rabbi Yehuda says that the entire Chol HaMoed, from the first day of Chol HaMoed, which is the 16th of Tishrei, it has to already be the new tkufa of Tishrei in order to have the every day of Chol HaMoed to be in Chag ha'asif, the tkufa of Tishrei to gather. So therefore, b'tkufa chadasha, in the new season, meaning the season of Tishrei. So therefore, according to Rabbi Yehuda, if the tkufa of Tammuz is ending on the 16th, and then it starts, tkufa of Tishrei only starts on the 17th, so you're missing 1 day of Chol HaMoed for the Chag ha'asif, that it should be in the Tkufa of Tishrei. But if it ends on the 15th, a day before, which is the first day of Yom Tov Sukkot, and then the next day, the 16th, is the first day of the new Tkufa, so then that begins already, the Tkufa of Tishrei, from the first day of Chol HaMoed, and then you have the entire Chol HaMoed all already in the Tkufa of Tishrei. And therefore, you don't have to be Ma'aber the year. But Amar Savar, Rav Yossi's opinion is miktsas chag be'inon b'tkufa chadasha, that it's enough to have some of the days of Chol HaMoed, even just one day, the last day, Hoshana Rabbah, as long as the last day is going to be in the tkufa of Tishrei, so then you don't have to be ba'ab the year. So if the tkufa of Tammuz ends on Chof, and then Chof Aleph, which is Hoshana Rabbah, begins already the new tkufa, then it's okay. But if the new tkufa begins on Chof Beis, which is Shmini Atzeres, then you have a problem. Then you're going to have to be ba'ab the year. Okay, now Rashi here addresses a question which the Gemara brings up on Amud Beis according to another man Omar, but here the Gemara does not ask this question, and that is, why would you have to add an entire month in order to avoid this of happening? In order that you should have either the entire Chol HaMoed or at least one day of Chol HaMoed to be in Chag HaAsif. Why can't you just add another day to the month of Elul? Instead of Elul being 29 days, add one more day to Elul, and then you'll have an extra day, and you'll have either at least one day or the entire Chol HaMoed in Chag HaAsif, instead of adding an entire month. So Rashi says the answer to this is because we have a klal, loy adu reish. Rosh Hashanah cannot fall out on Sunday, Wednesday, or Friday. And the reason is because we don't want Yom Kippur to be not on a Friday or on a Sunday, and we don't want Hoshana Rabbah to be on a Shabbos either. So therefore, if they're going to add an extra day, so then this will cause that this could happen. That Rosh Hashanah will fall out Sunday, Wednesday, or Friday. Right? Because Chacham Chatchila set it up in such a way that by the time you come to Elul, then it should not fall out on Adu on these days. So now you're going to add another day. It's going to be many times that would be a problem. So therefore, that's not an option. Rashi says furthermore that to go and add from the previous month already, from Chodesh Av, to add to be ma'aber maybe Chodesh Av from before is also not possible, because throughout the year the way it's set up is that there's 6 months which are Chasedim, which are 29 days, and there are 6 months that are Malayim, which are 30 days. And then to add another month that it should be Malay is a problem. To go beyond that, to add another day to Av, or then to add another day to Elul, if you want to add a day to both months, in order that it shouldn't be a problem with Lo Yadu Rosh, you can't make 8 months of the year to be Malayim. So therefore, it's not a solution to add 1 day to Elul or 2 days to Av and Elul. So the only thing you can do is to delay the Yom Tov for an entire month. Okay, but now the Gemara clarifies another detail about this. As I mentioned before, every Tkufa is 91 days and 7.5 hours. Which really means that the Tkufa ends somewhere in the middle of the day. So that day when the new Tkufa, when the new season begins, be'emes, that day, part of it belongs to the previous season and part of it belongs to the next season. So now the question is, that day where the new season begins, what does it belong to? Does it belong to the previous season or does it belong to the next season? So in our case, for example, we were talking about the 16th. Does it belong to, if the new season begins on the 17th, so the 17th is still belonging to the previous season Tammuz, or does the 17th already belong, is at the beginning of Tishrei? So now the Gemara explains here, Mai Kasavri. What would both of these opinions, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi, hold about this? Ikasavri Yom Tkufa Gaimer, if they hold that the first day of the new season is really still completing from the previous season, it still belongs to the day before. If so, belav hachinami, even if it's a day before what we mentioned, meaning not the 16th, or not if the tkufa of Tammuz doesn't finish on the 16th, but even if it finishes on the 15th, or according to Rabbi Yossi, if the tkufa of Tammuz didn't finish on Chof Aleph, but even if it finished on Chof, and Tishrei begins on Chof Aleph, but the first day of the new season really still belongs to the previous season, so then, not according to Rabbi Yehuda that says that each of the days of Chol HaMoed has to be part of the new season of Tishrei. It's not gonna be part of the new season, even if you go 1 day before. The Tkufa of Tammuz ends on the 15th, and the Tkufa of Tishrei begins on the 16th, which is the first day of Chol HaMoed, but the first day still belongs to the previous season. So you're not going to have each day of Chol HaMoed be part of the season of Asif, of Tishrei. And and also regarding Rabbi Yossi's opinion that says that you have to have at least 1 day of Chol HaMoed, even if you go 1 day back, not Chof Aleph, but Chof, and then the new Tkufa begins on Chof Aleph, but it still belongs to the previous season, so you still don't have any day of Chol HaMoed to add in the Tkufa of Tishrei, of Asif. So therefore, Ella, the Gemara says, Kasavri, both Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi hold, and this is all according to the way Shmuel quoted their opinion. So according to Shmuel, both Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi hold, Yom Tkufa Maschel, The first day of the new season of Tishrei, even though it's in the middle of the day that the previous season completes, but the first day is considered to be the beginning of the next season. So therefore, the way it was said over here, that if it's the 16th that the previous season, Tammuz, ends, and then the 17th starts the new season, the 17th, or according to Rabbi Yossi, on the 21st, that's already considered to be the first day of Tkufas Tishrei, and that's when you will not have to be Ma'aber the year. This is
like half the morning.
Well, but we don't divide the day half and half. The entire day is considered to be already the first day of the new season, and therefore it's already part of the Tkuf of Tishrei. Okay, so this is the way Shmuel quoted the Machlokes of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. And as we see, both Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi hold that the first day of the new season is not yet complete, is not anymore completing from the previous season. It's already the beginning of the next season. Okay, but now the Gemara is going to ask on both of these points. Meisvei Yom Tkufa, it says in a Braise, Yom Tkufa, the first day of the new season. So over here, the Mashal, the first day of Tishrei, Goyme. That first day is still completing from the previous season. It's not considered to be the first day of the new season. David Rabbi Yehuda, this is Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. So right here we see that according to Rabbi Yehuda, if it would come out that Tammuz ends on the 16th and the first day of the new season is on the 17th, so then the first day, even if it would be one day before and the new season would start on the 16th, it would still be a problem because it's still Gaimer. It's the 16th is still, the first day of the new season is still completing from the previous season. So right here, this is different than what Shmuel said, that even according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's as long, the problem is only when it starts on the 17th, not on the 16th. Now, Rabbi Yossi says, Yom Tkufa Maschal, that the first day of the new season is actually already the beginning of the new season. So in this case, it would be the Tishrei that already begins the new season. So right here we see that Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi, they actually argued about this point itself. What is the status of the first day of the new season? So that's one question on Shmuel, the way he quoted the Machlokes of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. Another thing that's a question here, what we learned in the Braise, and this is a question on the other point that he brought here. He quoted Rabbi Yehuda saying that you need to have every day of Chol HaMoed to be part of the Tkufa of Tishrei. And therefore, it has to start from the first day of Chol HaMoed, from the 16th, that it should be the first day of the new season. But here in the Braise, we see that that's not the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. So here the Braise actually brings a few opinions about this inyan. So the first, the Tanakam here says, it's not necessary to be ma'abed the year, unless the tkufa of Tammuz, when it comes into Tishrei, is still missing most of the month. And v'kama ruba shel chaydish, what is most of the month? Shisha sayayim, that's 16 days. And that would mean 16 days, or according to the way the Gemara understands now, that's 16 days. And then the 17th day begins the new Tkufa. So then, in such a case, you'll have to be Ma'abed the Chaydish. But if it's any less than that, so then it's not necessary. Rabbi Yehuda, and what does Rabbi Yehuda say? Shtei Yodis b'Chaydish. That only if the Tkufa of Tammuz is missing 2/3 of the month, and it's going into Tishrei 2/3, and the Kameshtei Yodis b'Chaydish Chaf Yom, if it's entering into Chaydish Tishrei 20 days, and that means that Tkufas Tammuz ends on Chaf Tishrei, and the Tkufa of Tishrei starts on Chaf Aleph. So as we just quoted in the previous Braise, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the first day of the beginning of the next Tkufa is still completing from the previous Tkufa, and that would mean that the Tkufa of Tishrei is only starting on Chav Beis, and therefore it's a problem, because now none of the days of Chol HaMoed are going to be Chag HaOsif. So here we see clearly that Rabbi Yehuda is the one that says that only one day of Chol HaMoed has to be from Chag HaOsif, not like the way Shmuel quoted Rabbi Yehuda, that it has to be the entire Chol HaMoed. Okay, now the Gemara goes on to bring the other opinions here. Rabbi Yossi also opposite, different than the way Shmuel quoted it. Rabbi Yossi says, Mechashvin Shisha Asar Lifnei HaPesach. Oh, no, actually, now this is not the opposite of the way Shmuel quoted it here. Very interesting. Rabbi Yossi says that you begin making the cheshbon about this not from Sukkot time, the time to make the cheshbon about when the tkufa of Tammuz will end and when the tkufa of Tishrei will begin in Tishrei, if it's going to carry into Tishrei, you start making the cheshbon from Pesach time. And what the cheshbon is, mechashvin shisha asar lifnei Pesach. You make the cheshbon, and if the tkufa of Tevis, which is the winter tkufa, is going into Nisan, and it carries into Nisan all the way to the 16th of the month, which means that the tkufa of Tammuz, the summer tkufa, is only starting on Yud Zayin Nisan, then you're going to have to make an ibiyar for Tishrei, that it should come out at least one day of Chol HaMoed on Chag HaAsif. So the cheshbon over here basically is, as I mentioned before, each one of the tkufas is 91 days and 7.5 hours. So now you have the tkufa of Tammuz, or first actually there's the tkufa of Nisan. There's the tkufa of Nisan, and then there's the tkufa of Tammuz. Right, so that's those two tkufas of the year. Each one is 91 days. So together it's 182 days. So if you count 182 days from Yud Zayin Nisan, it's going to end on Chof Aleph Tishrei. So then you're not going to end up having any days of the tkufa of Tishrei on Chol HaMoed. And so Rashi goes through the cheshbon more specifically. If you start from Yud Zayin Nisan, so you have 14 days of Nisan, and then you have the rest of the months throughout the summer. One of the months is 29 days, and the next month is 30 days. You end up having, if you count 182 days from Yud Zayin until in middle of Tishrei, it's going to end up by Chof Aleph Tishrei. So what he's saying is that you can make the cheshbon already from Pesach time. That if you see Tkufas Nisan starting on Yud Zayin, then you know you're going to have a problem that Tkufas Tishrei is not going to start until Chof Aleph, and therefore you're going to have to make a Shana Mu'uberes. Now, however, if Shisha Asar Lifnei Achag Ein Ma'abrin, if you have only 16 days that carry in from the Tkufa of Tammuz into the month of Tishrei, so then it's not necessary to make an Ibiyar. Now the Gemara is going to explain that really, according to Rabbi Yossi, it's not only 16 days. Even if it goes in all the way to 20 days into Tishrei, it's not necessary because you still have one day that is already Tishrei in Chol HaMoed. Rab Shimon Aimer, another opinion, Rab Shimon says, Af Shisha Asar Lefnei Achag Ma'abrin. If the Tkufa of Tammuz goes all the way into 16 days of the month into Tishrei, so then it's necessary to make an Ibiyar. So the Gemara will ask that this opinion seems to be the same as the Tanakama in this Braisa. Another opinion, Achedim say, which is Rab Meir, Miyutai. Even if you have only the minority of the month of Tishrei, where the Tkufa of Tammuz is missing and it's continuing into a minority of the month, you're going to have to make an Ibiyar. V'kama Miyutai. What's the minority of the month? Arba, so even just 14 days, it'll be necessary to make an Ibiyar. Okay, so now the Gemara here says, you clearly see here that Rabbi Yehuda is the one that holds that as long as you have even just one day of Chol HaMoed, only if you have 2/3 that are of Tammuz, in other words, the Tkuf of Tammuz is going in 2/3 into the month of Tishrei, then it's a problem. Not the way Shmuel quoted the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda that you have to have the entire Chol HaMoed to be in the Tkuf of Tishrei, and if you have 16 days of the Tkuf of Tammuz that goes into the month of Tishrei, it'll be a problem. So the Gemara concludes, Kashya, both of these braises are a question on the way Shmuel quoted the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, and it's a question on both points. First of all, regarding the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, whether it's 16 days or 2/3 of the month, 20 days, and also regarding the first day of the new Tkufa, what is the first day of the new Tkufa? Is it counted as a completion of the previous Tkufa, or is it the beginning of the next Tkufa, in this case, the Tkufa of Tishrei? So both of these questions remain a question on Shmuel's opinion. Okay, here the Gemara is going to go through all the opinions that are brought in this Braisa. Amar, so the Tana of the Braisa said that Rabbi Yehuda said, Shtei Yodes b'chodesh esrim yoim, that the 2/3 of the month is 20 days, and that means that Tkufas Tammuz ends on the 20th of Tishrei, and then the Tkufa of Tishrei starts on the 21st. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, that's going to be a problem because the 21st day is still completing from Tammuz, and therefore you're going to have to be Ba'ab the year. Rabbi Yossi said, Mechashvin, Shisha Asa Yom Lefnei Pesach. You have to begin the cheshbon from to see if Tevis is carrying into the month of Nisan all the way till Tezayin Nisan, and then the Tkufa of Nisan is starting on Yud Zayin, then Ma'abrin. Then you know that you're going to have to be Ma'abed the year. Fragt the Gemara, if so, Hainu Rabbi Yehuda, what Rabbi Yossi is saying is the same point as what Rabbi Yehuda said, because according to Rabbi Yossi, he's basically saying the same thing, that you have to have at least one day of Chol HaMoed that should be part of the tkufa of the new tkufa of Tishrei. Right? That's why Rabbi Yehuda says that if it goes all the way till Chav Tishrei, it's a problem. And Rabbi Yossi is saying the same thing. You can Elamai, Rabbi Yossi is just saying that you could start the Cheshbon already from Pesach time. But he's basically saying the same point. And says the Gemara, the difference between them is, as we saw already before, the Gemara quoted the Braisa that Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi argue about this, that Yom Tkufa Gaimer v'Yom Tkufa Maschil Ikke Beinaya. There's one day that's a difference between them. That one day, the first day of the new Tkufa of Tishrei, is that first day considered to be the completion of the previous Tkufa of Tammuz, or is that day considered to be the beginning of the next Tkufa of Tishrei? So the difference would be whether we go by Chav Tishrei and then Chav Aleph. If it's Chav Aleph is the first day of the new Tkufa, it's still not good, according to Rabbi Yehuda, because that first day of the new Tkufa still belongs to the previous Tkufa. Or according to Rabbi Yossi, if it's Chaf and then Chaf Aleph is already considered to be the first day of the new Tkufa, and then it's not a problem. So it's only if it's going to be Chaf Aleph and then Chaf Beis is the first day of the new Tkufa. So it's that one day that's the difference between them. The next opinion brought in the Braise on Mamar Shisha Asar. Oh, this is still explaining what Rabbi Yossi said. Rabbi Yossi said Shisha Asar Lefnei Achag, that if Tammuz carries into Tishrei 16 days, then Ein Ma'abrin. Then you don't have to make it an Ibiyar. So the Gemara asks him this, Elul Rabbi Yossi, does this mean that according to Rabbi Yossi, Shisha Asal Lefnei Achag Hu Duloi, only if Tammuz is going into Tishrei 16 days, then you don't have to be Ma'abed the year. But Shivser, Tamneser, but if it's going to the 17th day or the 18th day or even further, Ma'abrin, then you do have to make an Ibiyar. But for Amar, before that, he said the Cheshbon was different. That you begin the Cheshbon from Pesach time, Shisha Asal Lefnei Pesach, that you have to see if the Tkufa of Teves goes into the 16th of Nisan by Pesach time. So what you see is that only if it goes all the way until Shisha Asar by Pesach and the Tkufa of Nisan is starting on the 17th, then it's a problem. That's when it's going to be a problem, because then the Cheshbon is that the Tkufa is going to end on Chav Aleph Tishrei. But Batzir Loi, if it's anything less than Chav Aleph Tishrei and the Tkufa of Tishrei is starting anywhere before Chav Beis Tishrei, then it won't be a problem. So then why would Rabbi Yossi then say that the only time when it's not going to be a problem is if Tammuz only goes until the 16th? He should have said even if Tammuz goes all the way till the 20th of Tishrei, it's not a problem, according to his opinion. Okay, so the Gemara explains, Loi, you're right. It's not only the 16th that you're not going to have to make a Ibriyar. Idi v'idi ema abrin. Either way, even if the Tkufa of Tammuz continues into Tishrei to the 16th, the 17th, all the way till the 20th of Tishrei, it's not going to be a problem. So then why did he use the term of the 16th of the month here? V'aidi detone reisha shisha asal lefnei Pesach. Because when he made the Cheshbon starting from Pesach time, he was speaking about the 16th of Nisan in Pesach. He's also mentioning the 16th of Tishrei when the Tkufa of Tammuz goes into Tishrei. But really, according to Rabbi Yossi, as long as you have one day of Chol HaMoed, which is in the Tkufa of Tishrei, so they can go all the way till the 20th of Tishrei, the Tkufa of Tammuz, it's okay. You won't have to make an Ibiyar. Okay, now the next opinion that was in the Braise, Rab Shimon says, Shisha Asar Lefnei Achag Ma'abrin, that if Tammuz goes into the 16th of the month of Tishrei, then you have to establish an Ibiyar. So the Gemara asks, Hainu Tanakama. It seems that what Rab Shimon is saying is identical to what the Tanakama said. He said also, you go by as long as it goes into the 16th, then it'll be a problem. So again here the Gemara says, similar to the Pshat the Gemara said before, to explain the difference between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi, that there's one day that they argue about. The difference between them is Yom Tkufa, that first day of the new Tkufa of Tishrei. Do I say that Yom Tkufa Maschel, that first day is already the beginning of the new season, or Yom Tkufa Gaimer? Do I say that the first day is the completion of the previous season of Tammuz, and therefore it's still a problem? So what that means is that over here the question is, do you have to have the month of the Tkufa of Tammuz end on the 15th? And so in order for the first day to be on the 16th, or could it be that it ends on the first day of Tishrei starts on the 16th? Again, does it have to start, the first day of the Tishrei have to start on the 16th, or does the first day of Tishrei have to start a day before? The Gemara says it's not clear whether the Tanna Kama holds this way and the two opinions regarding the Tkufa Maschal and the Tkufa Goyme. It's not clear which one of the Tanaim, the Tanna Kama or Rab Shimon, holds what about this. But this is the point here that they argue about, that one day, if the first day is the 16th, is that going to be good enough? Or no, the first day has to be the 15th. Does the first day have to be the 15th, and then it's the second day which has to be the first day of Tishrei? Okay, the last opinion that was brought in the Braisa was the opinion of Acherim. Acherim oimrim miyutai, that even if you have a minority of the month, and the kama miyutai arba'asa yom, even if it's just 14 days, and seemingly this means 14 days of Tammuz, of the Tkufa of Tammuz that's going into the month of Tishrei, it'll still be a problem. So the Gemara asks about this, Mai Kasavri, what's the explanation for the opinion of Acherim? Even if they hold that the first day of the new season is still completing the previous season of Tishrei, and he also holds that you need the entire Chalamayid all to be in the Tkufa of Tishrei, but you have that because the first day of the new season is on the 15th. And then the first day of Cholamayid, which is the second day of the Tkufa, is already in the Tkufa of Tishrei, so the entire Cholamayid is Chag Asif. So what's the problem? What's the basis of Acherim's opinion to say that even then you're going to have to be Ma'abed the year? Amar Rav Shmuel, so the Gemara brings two pshatim here. The first pshat is Amar Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak, Acherim b'tkufas Nisan kaimi. Acherim, they're not talking about the Tkufa of Tishrei here. They're going back to the Tkufa of Nisan. And what they're saying is, when they say that Nisan, Tevis, if Tevis carries into the Tkufa of Nisan 14 days, then it's going to be a problem. Because the Chsev, the Pasuk says, Shamayr es Chodesh ha'aviv, that you should keep the month of Aviv, that the Pesach should be in Chodesh ha'aviv. Now what does this mean, Chodesh ha'aviv? It actually means that it has to be at least one day in the first half of the Chodesh of the month of Nisan that should be already Aviv. Shmoyer Aviv shel Tkufa sheyeh b'Chodesh Nisan. That you have to keep at least one day of Chodesh Nisan in the first half of the month. The first half of the month, the first 14 days of the month, is still part of the Chodesh, meaning the Chiddush of the month, when the moon is still getting bigger. It's the Chiddush of the month. The Gemara is darshaning the word Chodesh to also mean Chiddush. When it's the first part of the month, when the moon is still getting larger, so at least one of the first 14 days of the month has to be the Tkufa of Nisan. So therefore he said that if the Tkufa of Tevis is carrying into Nisan, into all 14 days, and the Tkufa of Nisan is only starting on the 15th of Nisan, it's going to be a problem. At least out of Pesach, at least one day has to be from the Chodesh Aviv. That's what is going on. Okay, so it could be it's an issue just with one day. So on this the Gemara asks, if it's just a problem of one day, v'la abre la adar. So then you have a solution for this. Instead of adding a whole other month of Adar, you can just add one more day to the month of Adar. Instead of 29 days, it should be 30 days, and you'll add one more day. So then the Tkufa of Nisan will start on the 14th instead of starting on the 15th. So why should you add an entire month? So according to Rashi, this question that the Gemara is asking here is only a question on this opinion of Acherim that it's bringing now. Regarding the other opinions before, where also you could ask such a question that you can just add a day to Elul. So I explained before, Rashi says that over there it's an issue because of Loi Adu Reish. Now Rashi here brings up, just like there's the klal of Loi Adu Reish, that Rosh Hashanah cannot fall out on Sunday, Wednesday, or Friday. Yeah. There's a similar thing regarding Pesach. There's a klal that Rosh Hashanah Loi Badu Pesach, that Pesach should not be on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. So how's the Gemara suggesting here to add a day to the month if then it'll cause many times that Pesach will be on a day that it's not supposed to be? So Rashi says that really the fact that Pesach shouldn't fall out on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, there's no issue with Pesach itself. The issue is that if Pesach falls out on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, then Rosh Hashanah will end up falling out on Adu, on Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then it'll be a problem with Yom Kippur or Hoshana Rabbah. So because the main issue is really all regarding Yom Kippur and Hoshana Rabbah, you still have a few months in between Pesach and Tishrei to correct that. You'll make Adar a Malay, a 30th day, and then throughout the next month, a month that should have been that should have been 30 days, you'll make 29 days, so you can correct that. You have enough time. So therefore the Gemara is asking, if so, you can just add one day to the month of Adar. Answers the Gemara, Amar Abacha Bar Yaakov, this is taka true, you're right. And therefore, Tana Mulmaila Lamata Kachoshiv. The Tana over here, which is Acherim, he doesn't taka mean in a time when the Tkufa of Tevis goes into only 14 days, it's taka not a problem. He's saying up until 14 days it's a problem, but v'lo yad b'chlal. He's counting from a larger number when it goes into the even more than 14 days. And v'hachi kamar, this is how you have to understand what Acherim is saying. Ad miyutay ma'abrin. If the Chodesh of, or the Tkufa rather, of Tevis is carrying into the month of Nisan until Miyutoi, then you're going to have to be Ma'aber, which means if it's carrying in 16 days, 15 days, until the 14th, you're going to have to be Ma'aber. And V'kame Miyutoi, Arba Asayim. Up until 14, but if it's only 14 days, then you don't have to be Ma'aber, because then you have a simple solution just to add 1 day to the month of Adar, and the Tkufa of Nisan is not going to start on the 15th of Nisan. You push it 1 more day, so now you add a day, it's going to start on the 14th of Nisan. But if it's going to start on the 16th of Nisan, so now you have an issue with 2 days, so then you're going to have to be Ma'aber the entire month. That's the pshat. This is one pshat here in what Acherim was saying. Now, another pshat Gemara says, Ravina says, going back to what Acherim say, that if there's 14 days that's carrying into the next month, then it's a problem. So this is actually not referring to Pesach, but we're going back to like the rest of the Braise, which was talking about Tishrei. And it's the Tkufa of Tammuz that's carrying into the month of Tishrei. They are talking about the month of Tishrei. Now, why do they say that there's a problem if Tammuz continues into the Tkufa of Tishrei just 14 days? Now, but nevertheless, the Kesavri Acherim hold Kulei Chag Be'inon. The entire Sukkot has to be in the Tkufa of Tishrei, and that includes even the first day of Yom Tiv. So if the Tammuz is carrying into 14 days, and then according to Acherim, the first day, the 15th day, which is the first day of the next Tkufa, is still considered to be a day that's completing from the previous Tkufa. Like the opinion we brought before, the first day of the new Tkufa is still Gomer of the previous Tkufa, so therefore the first day of Sukkot is still going to be in Tammuz. So therefore it's going to be a problem. So now, but the Gemara asks on this, V'Yom Tov Rishon. This includes even Yom Tov Rishon as well. But the Gemara asks, Yom Tov Rishon, why does the Yom Tov Rishon have to be included in the new Tkufa already? Chag HaAsav Ksiv. It says in the Torah, Chag HaAsav, and the way we explained it before, according to the other opinions, only Chalamayit has to be part of the new Tkufa. Why? Because only Chalamayit could you actually do Asif. Are you allowed to do work in the field to gather the produce? But Yom Tov, when you can't do Asif, does not have to be part of the new Tkufa. So how do Acherim understand this pasuk? Answers the Gemara, Chag haba bizman asifeh. But the way they interpret this pasuk means the Yom Tov, which includes even the first day of Sukkot, in the time of asifeh. It has to be already in the time of where the new Tkufa of Tishrei begins. Even if you can't actually do asifeh because it's Yom Tov, it's only in Cholamayid that you could. But nevertheless, Chag Asif means that even the first day of Sukkot has to be in the second day of the new Tkufa, which is really the beginning of the new Tkufa, and therefore, even if Tammuz carries only 14 days into Chodesh Tishrei, it's going to be a problem, and you're going to have to be Ma'abed the year. Okay, this is the conclusion of the whole sugya of Ibur Hashana, with all the opinions here regarding the Tkufa of Tammuz, how it carries into the month of Tishrei. Now the Gemara goes back to the Mishnah, where it discusses the number of Dayanim. And the next thing the Mishnah mentioned was Smicha Zekanim. The Smicha on a carbon that the Zekanim have to bring, so the Smicha of the Zekanim on this carbon has to be with 3 of the Zekanim from the Sanhedrin. So the Gemara brings the source, and a Braisa that brings the psukim for this. Tan Rabbanon. So the Braisa says, it says in the pasuk, V'samchu Ziknei, that the Ziknei, the elders, they should do smicha on the carbon. So who are the Ziknei? Who are these elders? Yachal, I would think, Ziknei Ashuk, that this refers to other Zekanim from the street, meaning Talmidei Chachamim, Zekanim, but not necessarily the Zekanim of the Sanhedrin, of the Bezdin. So Talmud Loimar, Eida. So the Torah says it has to be Ziknei HaEida, which refers to the Bezdin. Now, when it says the term Eida, Yachal Ketane Eida, I would think maybe that means even from the smallest Sanhedrin of 23. It doesn't necessarily have to be from the Sanhedrin of 71, the Sanhedrin Gedolah. Talmud Loima ha'eda. It doesn't just say Ziknei Eda, but it says Ziknei ha'eda, which is the Miyuchadin Shebe'eda. There has to be 3 from the Ziknei ha'eda of the Sanhedrin that's going to do the smicha on the carbon that they're bringing. Now, V'kama Haim, how many of the Zakanim have to do the smicha. So there was a machlokes about this in the Mishnah. So one way to darshan this is v'samchu, when it says that they, plural, should lean their hands on the carbon, that's shnayim, that's 2. Then it says zikne, again a plural term, shnayim, that's another 2. So that's 4. And ve'ein bezdin shakel, a bezdin is never even in this case when they're not judging. Just doing smicha, a bezdin is not even. And therefore, Mesifin Alei and Aidechad, we add a 5th, and therefore, that's the Hareka Chamisha, that's to be 5 to do the smicha, Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. This is Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Rab Shimon Oimer, Rab Shimon says, Ziknei Shnayim, Ziknei is 2, and that's it, we don't darshan v'samchu. Ve'ein bezdin shakel, and the bezdin can't be even 2, so therefore, Mesifin Alei and Aidechad, we add another one, Harekan Shloisha, so that's 3. That's according to Rab Shimon. Now the Gemara explains, but Rab Shimon, Hoksiv, v'samchu, it says v'samchu, also a plural term, why doesn't he darshan the word v'samchu? And says the Gemara, the word v'samchu is not extra, so you can't darshan it for the number of zkeinim. V'samchu is for the halacha itself, to do the smicha. For Rabbi Yehuda says, Lugufei lo tzarich, the word v'samchu is extra, because then Kain, the lo yasi v'samchu, the drasha, if you're going to say that the word v'samchu is not extra for a drasha, then lichtoiv ziknei ha'eda yideyem al roi shapar, even without v'samchu, if it just says that the ziknei ha'eda are putting their hands al roi shapar, the word yideyem al roi shapar makes it clear that they have to place their hands on top of the head of the cow that's brought for a carbon. You don't need the word v'samchu. So the word v'samchu is extra. Now, but Rab Shimon argues and says, but iksiv hachi, if it would not say the word v'samchu, if it would just say yideyem al roi shapar, have a minute, then I would think to say mayal. What does it mean that they place their hands on the head of the cow? V'samuch, it doesn't mean al, doesn't always mean on. Al could mean nearby, near the head of the cow. So not necessarily does it have to be on mamish. So it has to say v'samchu, that has to be on the head of the cow mamish. But Rabbi Yehuda says that you don't need the word v'samchu for this, because Gamar reish me'oila. He learns out from what it says here, the word reish, and it says by the carbon oila, right in the beginning of Chumash Vayikra, it says v'samchu al reish ha'oila. So there it says clearly al reish ha'oila. So therefore we know here as well that it has to be on the head. So v'samchu is still an extra word. But Rab Shimon legama reish me'oila. Rab Shimon does not hold to this gzeira shava. Therefore the word v'samchu is not extra. Tane and Abraisa we learned smicha usmicha zekainim begimel. Smicha and the smicha of the zekainim has to be with 3. So here this Bryce is actually mentioning 2 different things. The smicha and the smicha of the zekainim. What are these 2 things? My smicha or my smicha zekainim. What's smicha and what's smicha zekainim? Rabbi Yechanan, so Rabbi Yechanan explained, when it says here smicha, what does that mean? Mismach sabi. In order to give smicha to someone that he should be able to paskin halachas. This is the real concept of smicha, the way it was in those times until the inyan of smicha was interrupted. But the smicha, that you get smicha from a rebbe, that it goes back to the chain of smicha all the way back to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu gave smicha to Yeshua, and then Yeshua to the next generation. So this is the smicha that it's talking about over here, that the smicha has to be with 3, that gives someone the authority to paskin. Amalei Abai Rav Yosef. So Abai says to Rav Yosef, Mismach Sabi B'Shloisha Minalam. From where do we know that when we're giving smicha to an elder, that he should be able to have the smicha going back to Moshe Rabbeinu? From where do we know that has to be with 3? If you're going to say midchsiv, because the pasuk says Hayismoich es yadav olav, that Moshe Rabbeinu, he leaned his hands on Yeshua, which means he gave him over the authority to lead Klal Yisrael and to be able to paskin. So over there was Moshe Rabbeinu. But if that's the case, we're learning from the smicha of Moshe Rabbeinu to sagi b'chad. It should be enough, even just with 1, like Moshe Rabbeinu himself. Now, if you'll say that Moshe b'makoim shivam v'chad koi, that in the case of Moshe Rabbeinu, him giving smicha to Yeshua was in the place of the 71 Zekanim that should have given him the smicha. Moshe Rabbeinu is as great as them, and therefore him giving smicha is like the 71 that give smicha. But if that's the case, liboy shivim v'chad. So anytime you give smicha for a person for the next generation, you should have to have 71, like by Moshe Rabbeinu, that counts like 71. So the Gemara concludes, Kashya, this remains a question, and the Gemara doesn't bring a source for this, that you need smicha, you need 3 for smicha. The Rambam actually paskins regarding smicha that you have to have 3, but amongst those 3, only one of them has to be someone that's musmach all the way mipi ish mipi ish until Moshe Rabbeinu. So Mefarshim say it's because of what the Gemara here remains with a kasha. The Gemara doesn't have a source that you have to have 3 that are musmach from Moshe Rabbeinu, so therefore you have to have 1 that's musmach together with another 2 that can give the smicha. Amal Ravache, Berei de Raval Ravashi. when you give smicha for this Inyan, to be able to pasken, because the smicha going back to Moshe Rabbeinu, how is it done? Biyada mamish. Does it mean smicha that you literally also place your hands on the person, just like the smicha by a carbon is? And that's the smicha. Samchanle is that this should be done. There's that part of the smicha as well. Amalei, so Rav Ashi said, no. Samchanle b'shma. The smicha is when you are giving him this authority, it's with the name that you give him. That karile Rebbe, that you refer to them with the name of Rebbe. Rebbe is a title for a person that has smicha. And v'yavele reshusa, you're giving him the permission lemeidan dine knossos, that he is able to judge even regarding matters of knossos, of penalties, because regarding knossos, the Torah says that lakim, you have to come to a bezdin, has to be mumchin, which is smicha. But the other dine mamanis, you don't need mumchen. The Gemara brought it before already, that because of nilas delas b'fnei loivin, that even if minat Torah you would need, but in order that people should want to lend money, you don't need to have mumchen for this. But for knossis, you have to have a proper smicha, and then you give the person the name Rebbe, and then he's able to pasken. The term Rebbe is, you have in the Gemara, and the Chachamim and Bava were called with the name Rav, and in Eretz Yisrael the Tanaim were called with the name Rebbe. So sometimes it says that the Rebbe is with the Yud at the end of the word, is dafke, the one that has smicha. And it says in Chassidus that the Yud, the difference between Rav and Rebbe is, the Yud at the end is the Yud of Chochmeh, which refers to Bittul. The smicha is not just the smicha of the fact that the person knows the subject and halacha and he knows Torah, but it's the Yud, which is the Chochmeh, which is the Bittul, going back to the chain of Moshe Rabbeinu, Tul Matan Torah, the Neis Na Torah, the Eibusha that gave the Torah. That's the term, the name of the authority that you say, the name of for smicha.